GT Racing, Scuderia Ferrari Edition, the heart of the race.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Formula SimRacing World Championship, presented to you by Thrustmaster. It is round 4 of 14 of this 2019 season, and today we head to Canada. Now, you might recognise my voice. That's right, I don't have a script in front of me today. I'm James Kirk, I'm here with you live, and I've brought some friends as well. A big shout out to our man on race direction. We might get a bit from him later in the race, but Cameron Rodger, little shout out to you, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Mr. Felix van Delft. So first of all, good evening, Felix. How are you doing? And how excited are we for today, the Canadian Grand Prix, a classic track?
Yeah, good evening, James. I'm looking very much forward to seeing what's going to happen today here at the World Championship. We have already seen a very exciting pro and also academy race, which has proven us that Canada is proving us to be quite an exciting track in both on-track racing and also the strategy. So that's something to look forward to today.
Let's take a little look at the track itself then. The Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It is 4.3 kilometers and very similar actually in some ways. You wouldn't really tell, but very similar in some ways to Baku, in that generally it is a difficult track to try and nail down the setup on, because you've got that first sector which is incredibly tight, incredibly difficult. You need good wing setup, but at the same time you've then got the Casino Straight and the Home Straight, two incredibly important opportunities on track to make your overtakes happen during the race.
Yeah, definitely. With those 3 DRS zones, I think it will give us a bit more action in the race, but also will give drivers a bit more opportunity to save fuel in places, and might even give us a bit more trains at some stages in the race.
And of course, looking at our wonderfully built car, it was great learning a little bit more about it today. I especially love the little LED position trackers on the side. You don't get to see that really, with the exception of GT cars in real life. So it's great to see it on a Formula car. But for this round, big shout out to the team back behind the scenes. Massive optimization upgrade running beautifully on my machine, which believe me, it struggles at times. But we're also running a skinnier rear wing just to mimic real life just that little bit more. And it's a great thing. You can try it. It's on the Steam store, I believe. I'm correct in saying that, right? Yep. Yeah, there you go. So you can try it for yourself. And taking a look then at last race. Wow, let's talk about it, shall we? Because we had one of the most surprising qualifying sessions, I would argue, in the last few years of Formula SimRacing. Seeing Kirill Burakov up there on pole, a brilliant effort from the Russian, especially given that was his first round of the season. Oh, but you feel like it was such an opportunity missed as well, ultimately retiring from that race. And if you want to catch up with all of the race highlights from, if you missed any rounds, all those going up on the YouTube channel, featuring yours truly, but all the hard work goes in from Mr. Matthew Tewson, so thank you very much to you, Matt. But yeah, a race which could have gone a heck of a lot better and ultimately ended up serving Jurnej Simončić quite well. 3 race wins in a row, an incredible start to the season.
Yeah, he's been extremely strong so far, both by his pure pace, but also strategic calls from his team in especially in China when he made the one-stop work. That was very, very well done by his team and himself, of course, as well.
Monumental effort, monumental risk, gave him monumental rewards, and that has by proxy helped his team in the team's championship. Now, it's actually, to be fair, a lot closer, perhaps because, of course, in a team's championship, it's not just the one driver that's meant to be carrying you. It is a two-horse effort, and so they only lead by 24 points comparatively. Of course, that's only a race win in regards to our point structure here today, and thankfully, I guess, for the neutral, there's two teams which are 24 points behind. Jean Lacey Esports Academy, which, of course, is the rebranded Twister from years gone by, and Edge Esports, which we saw them doing quite well last year. They seem to have really stepped it up a gear this year, picking up Danny Kish, a great move for all parties, it seems.
Yeah, definitely. He's a great driver, has done already quite a few good results this year, as second place or third place in Azerbaijan, but didn't have the best race in China as he DNF'd, and in Australia also had a tough race, but he has the pace, that's for sure, just hasn't been able to really put it together except for last round in Azerbaijan.
And of course, much like the Eurovision Song Contest, which was once again a spectacle as it always is last night, we don't want to see anybody going home with nil points. We've got 3 teams yet to score, flag to flag, ground effect, and Invictus. And I guess just to rotate completely around, to come full circle on the point, that is Kirill Birakov. We're seeing him now as times come in during this qualifying session. We'll go through all the bits and bobs of rules and whatnot in good time. But I'm sure that they'll be hoping that it wasn't just a one-off. And you've got to say that early impressions are that it kind of might have been. I don't think they'd be looking to necessarily challenge for pole position every single round, Felix, but they want to make sure now that they can continue that pace to at least be in the top 10, to at least try and get some points on the board.
Yeah, for sure. They want to keep up that momentum that Kirill gave them. I guess it gave them a good boost in motivation as well. Now, of course, at the moment in the practice session, Bidukov is only in 13th place. But you never know. I mean, Canada has such a track that you need, if you just nail one lap, it can make the difference between P10 and P1.
There's always in real life a trend for safety cars in Canada. It's a place where it's quite easy to get it wrong, and it's kind of like a pseudo street circuit, isn't it? I know it doesn't seem like it, but the walls are very close, and they do bite if you dare to test them, no more so than the Wall of Champions, of course, at the final chicane. Let's jump into the qualifying session, shall we? And just to remind you, if this is your first time here with Formula Sim Racing, then first of all, welcome. But if you're returning, if you just want a recheck of the rules, then these guys, they don't have unlimited qualifying laps. They've got 12 laps maximum out on track. That basically boils down to 4 flying laps. Everyone roughly around halfway done in regards to their total mileage. There are some people still with a good 3/4 of their lap count still to use up, and it should be no surprise to anyone that the man currently topping our session is Jerne Simoncic, championship leader with a 109.307. Pretty representative, I would say, of the times that we are expecting to be challenging for pole position here today. If you can hit a 108, pretty much going to guarantee you front row. Shout out to Robin Panzar, though, currently the man closest to him, just over 2.5 tenths away from the Slovenian. But Robin Panzar, I feel, has really matured. You got to say that ACR, they've kind of been keeping him in the wings. They've given him a full race seat now with Abercronic Racing Blue, the sister team to, yes, you guessed it, Abercronic Racing, and he's really paying out. He's showing his worth, because he's not just looking more consistent, which I think consistency was his main problem in the past, but he's showing some much improved pace to go with it as well.
Yeah, he definitely is. He did a few good races so far. I mean, P4, P5. Australia not so good in P12, but still, like you said, the consistency and the pace is really starting to come together for him, and looking very well for the season so far.
And certainly a podium, I would feel. A nice continuation of that upward trend if he's able to convert it. And his teammate, actually, speaking of, Martin Gosby, currently rounding out the top 3 with Petter Burlak and Michele D'Alessandro down there in P5. A scrappy race for Michele last time, certainly. He'll want to buck the trend. As will Mohammed Patel, though, I feel. Now, it's not like Patel's had a bad start to the season. He's scored in every race so far. But for an ex-champion and for a champion that was expecting at least a podium in the opening 3 races, I feel like he's going to be very disappointed. And you've got to look at qualifying ultimately as the thing which is hindering him at the start, because his race performances have been lively. He's performed some brilliant, exciting overtakes for us so far, but he's had to perform those overtakes because he's been so far back in the field.
Yeah, I think the only race where he really was well in the race was the China race. He led the race there for quite a big amount of laps, but just wasn't able to take it home after, obviously when Journey Simricic made that one stop happen, but also before that when Petter Burlak got past him before the end of the race already, because, well, pretty much, we've talked about it before in the pro race already today, that when you lead a long distance in the race, it's always difficult to get to the end because the drivers behind you have been able to save the fuel behind you, and you had to push all the time and use your fuel to stay in front of them. So it's a bit difficult then in that scenario to stay in front as well.
Right, let's go on board with Martin Gosby, shall we? Him and his teammate have actually just been working together to try and get a bit of slipstreaming action down the Casino Straight. Panzar improving to a 109.452, but not enough to overtake Jurnej Simricic in pole position. This is Canada, and we're just heading through the first sector now. Turns 1, 2, followed by 3, 4, 5, and then into turn 6 here. You can see what I mean by it's difficult to set up the car, because yes, you want to make the most of those long straights and DRS zones as Gosby's going through here. But there's also these tight, twisty chicanes that litter the circuit, and you've got to have the right wing set up to be able to get the turn in that you need to, well, make it round the corner and make it round it quick. Gosby just coming round through Le Pingle, which is the top of the circuit hairpin, turn 10. And it looks like he might get a little bit of a slipstream from the sister car of Mark Hutchinson. So Michi Hoyer not here today, Mark Hutchinson in his place. And as per the new rules, of course, where grid penalties are applied to cars, not the drivers, Mark is going to be serving Michi's misgivings from Azerbaijan. It was a decent slipstream. Looks like a decent lap. Was a decent lap. A 109.430 puts him just over 200ths ahead of his teammate and into second, but still not ahead of that lead ACR car of Jurnej Simricic with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, only 5 minutes, and most of these drivers have roughly 1 attempt left to go. I was just on board with Janis Barakchuk, who had finished his lap and is just continuing on driving, perhaps waiting for his teammate to find a slipstream or give him a slipstream. Or he's just overfueled the car and decided to take another half lap. Now, a lot of drivers, I think, in their out laps, about to start their hot laps.
Let's take a little look. I think Petter Burlak's potentially winding up for one.
Yeah, I think.
And he was I think Valeriano might be ahead of him, but yeah. I think Petter Burlak's quite important to look at because, well, first of all, Edge Esports are second in the Teams Championship. Good reason to look at them. Petter Burlak himself is second in the Drivers' Championship. And so you'd feel that a pole position here would be well-timed, certainly, because so far it's all been coming up Jurnej Simricic this season. So into turn 1. Tight turn 1. Difficult to navigate in the race, especially if you're in the midfield. The difficult, I feel, for the drivers turn 2 in the sense of you want to get on the power earlier than you want to. Similar case with turn 4, get on the power too early, you're going to be into the wall. And turn 6, a lesser known overtaking opportunity. It is tight, but plenty of people have made it work through there. And then onto the smallest of the DRS straights, I believe just about. It might actually be the pit straight, now I'm looking at the track map again. Either way, it's a DRS straight. It means that there is going to be an opportunity into turn 8 to potentially make some overtakes happen. And we've already seen this part of the circuit, turn 10, down to the Wall of Champions. It looks like a decent lap, certainly, but what Petter Burlak doesn't have, which the ACR cars have had, I guess, for the past couple of laps, is a guy to slipstream with. Edge Esports choosing not to go for this strategy, choosing to keep it nice and simple. So DRS unaffected, absolutely mounting the chicane and hitting the outside wall as well. Looks like he might have just got away with that. Sticks to the outside and doesn't improve. It's still P5 for Petter Burlak with 3 minutes left.
Yeah, that last sector hurt him, I think. Hitting the wall of champions, obviously an FSR World Champion, so he's worthy to hit that wall. But yeah, I think he lost a bit of time there, a bit too much time there. As we say that, Jonas Simoncic decides the gap to P2 wasn't big enough yet, so I'll just improve by a little bit more. Over 2/10 now to Martin Gosby and Robin Panzer.
Keeping it nice and clean for us as well. A 109.2 flat. And if that's not a glass ceiling omen, then I'm not really sure what is. It's going to take a big effort, certainly. Michele D'Alessandro just putting in his final effort as well, a 109.659. So the highest he's going to start is P4. You kind of got to put into context as well just how good Brakshock's lap was. I mean, to be signed inside the top 5 for a Ghost Speed car is a hugely impressive achievement, and he's still got another lap to go, so he might yet improve.
Yeah, I'm just watching Robin Panzer. He's in the last sector slipstreaming with his teammate Martin Gosby right now, coming to the last chicane, flying through there and hitting the wall a bit. Now, coming to the line, what's it gonna be? Didn't really improve in the first 2 sectors and doesn't improve in the last sector either, so that's his qualifying session over as well. Only a few drivers, I think, left to finish their sessions.
I think Brakshock's getting a slipstream from his teammate Wojciech Lukaszek here as well. So similar strategy being deployed down at Ghost Speed. Lukaszek now going to just hold off and get some clean air for his own hot lap. Brakshock clearly the favoured driver here today. DRS wide open. Is he going to improve? No, he is not. He's going to stay P5 for now. And so I guess next, well, I was going to say let's go to Martin Gosby. I think Martin Gosby going to just take another warm-up lap here, actually, because he's slowed down significantly since the start of that lap.
Yeah, he has. Perhaps has the fuel to do another lap. It's interesting because I'm used to drivers just fueling the car perfectly to do 3 laps or 2 laps, basically 1 out lap and a hot lap and then stop after that. But I guess ACR might have put in a bit more, or Gosby might have put in a bit more just to be sure. He will make it within the time. But I have to wait and see if he has enough fuel to go to the end of the line. He goes into the pit lane actually, so that's his qualifying session over. Won't be able to get to the line before the end of the session, only 30 seconds remaining.
Alright, so the timer with 30 seconds away from time end. And first across the line then in these final 30 seconds will be Danny Kish, all the way down in P11. Going to the insides of the wall as well. He might actually be looking to start a new hot lap. I think that's what he is going to be doing actually, so he'll be one of the last across the line. So first then will be Wojciech Lukaszek here, who's picked up the slipstream, although it looks like he's completely messed up the final sector. So despite slipstream from his teammate ahead of him, not going to happen. For Lukaszek, and I think Patel's winding up as well. Petter Burlak's going quite fast though. So I think... But actually, to be fair, these guys are friends. So maybe Mohamed Patel giving his ex-Musto teammate, of course, a bit of a boost here. Petter Burlak getting the slipstream, not from his own team. I wonder how that will... I wonder how that will play out in the minds of the John Lacey Esports crew. Petter Burlak across the line, and that is much better. A 109.527 puts him up to P4. Jumps Michele D'Alessandro at the very least. Mohamed Patel into the pits. And so the last 2 guys out on track, it was Mark Hutchinson who looks to have finished his effort. So it's now going to be Danny Kish now as he comes down the Casino Straight. To the final chicane again, absolutely mounting that final chicane, and very conservative actually on exit. You could see that he wanted to get this one right. Stays to the right hand side, and it benefits him to a 109.754. He's only 5 thousandths away from Janos Brakshock there in P6. He ends up P7 himself, but for Jerne Simoncic, by just shy of 2.5 tenths, he picks up his first pole position since Australia.
Yeah, great job there for Jerne Simoncic, proving himself to be one of the quickest guys here today. Once again, over 2 tenths to Martin Gosby. Great effort from him.
Around a sub 1 minute 10 circuit as well for all the top guys. That's a big margin, and only bodes poorly for those who are hoping to break his streak of wins. It's Gosby and Panzar rounding out the top 3, Burlak and D'Alessandro rounding out the top 5. For now, that is qualifying, but we will be back with the 70-lap Grand Prix soon enough. So, a word from our sponsors, Thrustmaster, and we will be back very soon. Don't go away.
Hey man, I got that new TMX Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
Yo, let me play.
Yeah, I mean, after I play first. Yeah.
You know, I'll race it for it.
So I have a hand.
Welcome back, everyone, to round 4 of the Formula SimRacing World Championship of 2019, presented to you by Thrustmaster. A quick recap of who you are and where you are. I'm James Kirk. I'm joined by Felix van Delft, and this is virtual Montreal, Canada, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, where we just witnessed a qualifying session where I guess the norm as we should expect it has been repeated once again. Jone Simoncic looking a very fast boy indeed, taking the second pole position of the season ahead of the two ACR blue cars, Gosby ahead of Panzer. Looking forward to the race though, Felix. In terms of lap count, it's one of the most numerous of the season, 70 rotations of this circuit. Of course, with the shorter track and with the track with less tyre wear, we of course bring with us the three softest compounds of tyres: the purple branded Ultra Soft, the red branded Super Soft, and the yellow branded Soft Tyre. And although you might think that will then follow the norm of what we've seen so far this season of maybe 2 stops, 1 stops you can maybe get away with, that's not exactly the case here, is it? We're expecting more 2 stops, maybe even 3 stops from some guys.
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe to say, 70 laps. We've seen in the previous 2 divisions, Academy and a Pro division, that the Ultra Softs tend to go around 10, maybe 15 laps if you stretch them. And then the Super Softs go from 15 to about 20. And the Softs go from around 20 to 25 or maybe even 20 or 30 laps. So I guess at least the 2 stop for most of these drivers, and the 3 stop for probably quite a few of them.
So we're not expecting any Jone Simoncic 1-stop heroics then?
No, we're not expecting it, but
No.
we've seen in China that people tend to surprise us sometime. So, well, I don't know. We'll see.
We will see, indeed. I'm curious to learn about the full state of the grid, by the way. Let's go through our penalties through this race. So, Giordano Valeriano's picked up a 4th place. The car of Michi Hoyer's picked up a 5th-place grid penalty. That's going to be applied to Mark Hutchinson. Yuri Kasdorp has a +2 grid penalty. Peo Pave, Peter Schulze, and I think it's Kevin Ryan all starting from the pit lane. We also don't actually have one of our cars here. We don't have the ground effect of Arnie Schonvliet with us. So 21 runners and riders to go through. Felix, I will hand it over to you.
Yeah, let's indeed have a look at the full grid, as we have Jone Simoncic with that 1 minute 9.200 starting from pole position. Next to him, his sister teammate Martin Gosby and Robin Pansar behind him. Peter Broljak in P4, usually P2 in the championship, so we'll be hoping to get closer to Jone Simoncic during this race. Then we have Michele D'Alessandro, Jean Alesi Esports Academy driver in P5. Next to him, it's Janusz Braksok, Daniel Kish in P7. Ricardo Costa, good qualifying for him, in P8 next to Daniel Kish. Then we have in P9 Mohamed Patel a bit further down than he probably would have liked. And then Lukacek in P10, first of the Go Speed drivers. And then outside of the P10 we have Sander Callas and Ivan Leonov, the 2 Netrex drivers, side by side on the grid. Then it's Jos Araneda from Ground Effect SimRacing team and Jeffrey Fournier for HME Oremila Simsport in P13 and 14. In P15, Mark Hutchinson replacing Michi Hoyer in P15, a bit farther back than ACR, or I guess Average Chronic Racing would have hoped. Then Kirill Burikov wasn't able to surprise us like he did in Azerbaijan, down in P16. Then in P17 and 18 we have the flag to flag Breslin GP boys, Stephen Michaels and Peo Pieve. Then in P19, Giordano Valeriano and Kevin Ryan starting from the pit lane together with Peter Schultz. So let's head over to the grid. I believe the drivers are starting their grid and then we'll start their formation lap shortly after.
I cannot help but put my heart out to Kirill. To go from P1 to P15 is it's almost like a set back to reality, isn't it? But certainly around a track like this, it's not like Azerbaijan where there is 1.5 spots maybe to overtake. There's a number of good opportunities around this circuit, Gilles Villeneuve circuit, and certainly he'll be feeling like there's a bit of redemption to try and earn around this circuit, and with 70 laps as well to try and complete that redemption in, I'd say chances are looking pretty good for him. And so off and our formation up we go then. Jerne Simoncic leading, Martin Gosby and Robin Panzar. It's very nice, I guess, from Jerne Simoncic's point of view. You've got two sister teammate cars behind you. But what's going to be running through the mind of the ACR Blue cars, Felix? Are we thinking a chance to impress the big bosses, that they deserve a spot in the top team? Or do you think they're going to be playing second fiddle?
Perhaps. I guess Martin Gosby is eager for a win. I think it's been quite a while since he last won. Maybe even 2017 in Silverstone was the last time.
Pretty sure it was Silverstone 2017 off the top of my head, yeah.
So he's hungry for another victory, but of course Jerne Simoncic is a tough player to beat, and obviously he won't be ruining his chance of impressing his bosses by punting Jerne into the wall for some reason. So I guess he has to be kind of careful as well, but it's definitely good for Jerne to have two sister teammates behind him that can somewhat protect him, that will be a bit more careful than, for example, Peter Bojak and Michele D'Alessandro would be if they were in that position.
So just running down the order as to who's starting on different tyres. Both Netrexes starting on the soft compound, as is Araneda, Fournier, Birakov. Hutchinson going for the super softs there. So that's an interesting different strategy for the ACR, mired down the back of the field. It's super softs for Michaels, softs for Valeriano. And for the likes of Ryan, Pave and Schultz, we shall await their emergence from their pit garages. I believe that's how you say it in French anyway. It's not. Please don't take any French advice from me. I took it for 5 years, and I've come out of it with maybe 5 sentences total. It's, of course, ultra softs for everyone within the top 10, locked into their tyre choice from their fastest laps in qualifying. A fascinating race ahead of us then, and for ACR they'll be looking for, I guess, damage limitation overall. They'll be hoping for a win, of course, but it's crucial that Mark Hutchinson gets himself inside the top 10, since especially the likes of Edge with Burlak 4th and Kish 7th, that's very strong potential for some good points to try and reel in that gap in the teams.
It definitely is. They're looking strong, and ACR still from the front row, but Peter Bojak is definitely looking to maybe stick his nose in something where it doesn't belong.
I know him well, and he wouldn't want to do that. The lights illuminate above us then, and the 2019 World Championship Canadian Grand Prix is underway here at the Circuit Jules Villeneuve, and it is a decent start indeed from Jerne Simoncic, unopposed into turn 1. Martin Gosby going around the outside, and then the inside of Robin Panzar. But look at Burlak, we were talking about him potentially sticking his nose in. He's looking to do that on Robin Panzar early days, up into turn 3. Panzar sweeps around the outside, was having absolutely none of it, and maintains that position for now, and it looks like it's pretty much line astern as you were further down the order, looking down to the top 10. Certainly Mark Hutchinson's had a good start, actually started P16 up to P14, so making some early progress with those super softs, but as we enter the second sector, it is Jerne Simoncic unopposed.
Yeah, great start for the whole field. I think everybody got through turns 1, 2 pretty cleanly, no big incidents. Everybody still has a front wing as far as I know. So that's always great to see. Jos Araneda is starting to look feisty at the rear wing of Sander Callas. He's managed to get himself between the Netrex drivers at the start of this race already.
A lot of soft tyre runners down there as we head onto the casino straight. A reminder that the DRS zone doesn't activate until lap number 3. But tell you what, Danny Kish doesn't need that. A bit of contact with Janos Braksok as they go over the chicane. Braksok going over the sleeping policeman and losing a further position to Ricardo Costa. I think Kish had the move done. So it's down to the stewards as to whether it was a bit harsh from Kish or whether anyone could have, maybe had a little bit more room, whether the position should have been conceded. Big shout out to those guys. They've been on point, I'd say, so far this season. But for now, at least on track, Kish has the position, Costa has the position, and Patel has the position as well. Braksok losing 3 in the space of 3.
Yeah, losing a lot of positions there for the Gosby driver, but still a lot of time and a lot of laps to go, so if he gets back into his groove, might be able to find some pace again and climb back up the order, or perhaps a strategic master plan that is able to unfold in the latter stages of this race. Mohamed Patel has got a decent start of this race. Hasn't lost the position, hasn't gained anything as well, so could be worse.
And I'm looking towards the likes of Sander Kallas as well. I mean, the likes of him, Araneda, Leonov, Hutchinson, of course, on those alternate strategies. They're going to be wanting to keep as close to this front pack as they possibly can. Araneda just taking a little peek on Kallas into the final chicane. Nothing doing this time around, but keeping his options open. As looking at Araneda now, is he going to be perhaps taking a little peek into turn 1 as well? He does, but once again decides to pull out and not stick his nose in early doors. I think for Araneda and for ground effect, certainly, along with the likes of Invictus and Flag to Flag, maybe a bit more conservatism the way to go in this particular race. You want to at least get 1 point on the board in the first quarter of the season.
Yeah, of course. And at a track like this in Canada, you have to be careful because, like we've said already before, one small mistake can mean you end up in the wall, and the walls are not forgiving here in Canada.
So back up to the front then. It's lap 3 of 70, so we're seeing DRS starting to come into effect now. And to be fair to Martin Gosby, he has done a sensational job to hold on to within that second barrier of Jurnej Simicic, unable to escape the clutches of the Brit early doors. And you can see there, DRS now wide open for the entirety of the trading, except of course the Slovenian at the front. But it looks to me like Jurnej's running some lower wings, potentially anticipating this particular scenario. Might have a bit more natural defending capabilities than others on circuit. He remains unopposed into turn 1, but the sign's looking good that he's not just going to run away and leave us with a race for everybody but first, Felix.
Yeah, it's looking to be difficult for him to pull out. I've talked about it a little bit at the beginning of this broadcast, that the 3 DRS zones give the opportunity a bit for the drivers behind to stick with the driver in front of you, because pretty much down start-finish straight you can gain 1-2 tenths with DRS, and then after turn 7 you can also gain 1 or 2 tenths. So if you lose that time in the rest of the corners, it doesn't really matter because you can stick with them because of that.
The top 5 really starting to pull a gap now as well on the rest of the field. I think Danny Kish is, of course, he's been in battles and he's had Ricardo Costa for company, and I think he's starting to pull in that gap now once again. But there is a good second and a half or so between himself and D'Alessandro up in 5th. And we've got to watch out for Ricardo Costa as well, because that second and a half is crucial for Kish in the sense of he doesn't have DRS either now to defend with. And looking at Costa, the Portuguese driver, of course, moving down the Casino Straight. Again, no real signs that he's going to be able to make any sort of a move anytime soon. Might have to get a little bit closer. And looking further back as well, Sander Kallas now really starting to show that the soft tyres are indeed a slower compound of tyre, and starting to fall off the back of the top 10. So we're starting to get these little groups now. The top 5, the bottom 5 of the top 10, and then our guys on the alternate strategy from 11th down.
Yeah, at the front, Martin Gosby still sticking with Jurnej Simicic, and might be even a bit closer than he was the previous 2 laps. He can keep within this distance. I think he might have a chance to overtake Jurnej Simicic down the Casino Straight.
I tell you what, that particular corner complex, though, 8 and 9, is so difficult to follow through because it's tight enough that you'd think that you wouldn't get too much dirty air through there, but it's fast enough that it does have such an effect that you start to get understeer. Mind you, Gosby has stuck with him very well indeed, and I would say, I agree with you, this is probably as close as he has been over the last couple of laps, but he's choosing to pull out, Felix. Yeah, to be fair, I don't think he would have been close enough to make a move anyway, but it looks like he's biding his time, maybe saving tyres just a little bit as well, doesn't want to burn them out too much in trying to overtake Simicic.
Yeah, perhaps that could well be. Waiting his time to make use of an opportunity that will present himself perhaps later in this race. Or perhaps he's trying to just work together with Jurnej to try and make a bit more of a gap towards Michele D'Alessandro and Peter Böjer, because if they start fighting, then they will obviously lose time to the guys behind them.
So just looking further back, it looks like Lukaszek is falling back into the clutches now of Kallas and Araneda. Hutchinson, after a great start, he's up to P13 now, having dispatched even Leonov. he's not really stretching his legs. He's on a softer compounded tyre to both the guys behind and in front of him, but not showing too much pace to really suggest that to the naked eye. Leonov still close behind him, along with Valeriano. Fournier's in there. Michael's holding on to the back. Oh, and going for a super late move. I don't think it was entirely intended. A massive lock-up on the tyres. Super softs as well to boot. And I'm sure Fournier will be wiping some sweat off his brow, because that could have been a scary moment.
Yeah, we've seen it more often in that hairpin. The drivers go for a very late move. Often ends up in tears for both of the drivers, but just managed to stay clean there for Jeffrey Fournier. Now Peter Bojak, I think, is closing in a little bit more to Robin Pansar.
But at some point, these guys outside of the ACR contingent have to realise if they're not going to make a move, then perhaps we should just mix things up a little. Because for all they know, and for all we know, they could all be working in unison, just saying, let's hold station for the first stint. No need to waste our tyres. We can go much longer than the guys behind us, because that dirty air is going to be building up all the way back, and D'Alessandro is going to be the worst affected by it. It obviously makes the tyres a little bit harder to work, because you're naturally picking up more and more understeer. And perhaps that's part and parcel of why Peter Burke has yet to have been able to make a move. He simply can't. And looking at D'Alessandro, he's certainly losing a lot more time over the course of this particular lap.
Yeah, not able to stick as close with Peter Bojak as he was previous laps. And Ricardo Costa behind Daniel Kish is also still able to stick with him. But Kish is dropping back slightly compared to D'Alessandro. And needs to watch out for that.
It's a steady gap, which is very much encapsulated a steady race so far. 10% of the way through, it's lap 8 of 70. And Jone Simoncic leads from Gosby, Panzar, Burlak, D'Alessandro, Kish, Costa, Patel, Brakshok, and Lukashek. So after a not-so-great Azerbaijan, where both cars ended up crashing out, things looking a little bit rosier for the team in red. Ghostspeed currently occupying the final points positions. A reminder, if you're new with us, we basically follow the Formula 1 system of 25 for a win, all the way down to 1.4 tenth. But unlike Formula 1, we do not have a fastest lap point. And so it's basically where you finish is the points, or not points, that you will achieve throughout that race. And I've got to say, I'm super impressed with the likes of Kalash and Araneda, certainly, because as much as it's looking good and rosy for Ghostspeed now, the fact that Kalash and Araneda are keeping pace with them on the soft compound tyre bodes very well as we head later into the race.
Yeah, for sure. The midfield is very close to each other still. I mean, if you look from Brakchuk down to pretty much, even Fournier, it's only like 4 or 5 seconds between them. Basically one big train.
The top 13 still covered by 10 seconds. It is mightily impressive. And bodes well, I guess, for all the guys up front in thinking that, well, if people are having trouble overtaking and if the pace is so equalised across the field, then we might be able to lock in a decent position now with some good work in the early stint. So when are we expecting these guys to come into the pits? We were saying like lap 12, lap 13 is when we're expecting them in on the Ultras at least?
Yeah, I think that's when most people will start to pit. Perhaps somebody in this midfield is going to try to stop a bit earlier to perhaps make an undercut work. Because the pit stop delta is around 18 seconds, I believe. So if they stop right now, they would still drop back behind most of these drivers. So it's difficult, because especially for Simoncic, Gosby and Panzer, if they stop right now, they will pretty much slot in behind the whole field. And then they have to get past everybody before they are able to really get some pace.
It's a unique and deceiving pit lane, isn't it? Because the exit comes out in a favourable line to turn 2, much more so if you're entering it from on track after coming through turn 1. And so, yes, you've still got to brake for the corner, of course, but you can find yourself carrying a little bit more speed, and especially since the actual pit lane limiter switch off point is quite early in that straight leading up to it as well. It could prove good as Kalash has fallen down the order. He's fallen out the order. He's out the race. And I have the feeling that this was a little bit of contact in that scrap between him and the Ghost Speed. No, he actually just lost it on his own. On the inside of turn 4, lost his front wing, and he has decided to call it a day. So from a very promising position, the Estonian is out.
Yeah, let's see in a moment if we can find a replay of that. In the meantime, Jeffrey Fournier was looking to make an overtake on Giordano Valeriano. Wasn't able to do it before the hairpin, but now after the hairpin, perhaps will be able to make a move. Now Giordano does have the DRS as well from the car in front of him. Perhaps that makes things a bit difficult for Jeffrey Fournier. Yes, it does. So let's see quickly if we can find a replay of what happened to Anna Kalash there.
It was all his own doing. I did fear that he maybe got a tap from behind with Araneda, or he might have been a bit eager to try and get past Brakshock. To be fair, Brakshock and Lukashek have actually exchanged positions as well. So that might have explained why Kalash was in a better position to maybe look for a move, but it was all of his own doing. Just caught it on the, I think it was the Astro on the exit of turn 4.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of drivers being the victim of turn 4 already in the other divisions, the Pro and Academy division. And I think well over 3-4 drivers that have ended their race in that corner. So perhaps turn 4 is a bit too difficult for some of these drivers. If it's on the limit, on the AstroTurf there, perhaps easy to spin the car around.
We'd love to we'd love to know what you're all thinking, of course, in chat. Hello, welcome. If you're just joining us to this 2019 Canadian Grand Prix, great to have you with us. It's Jurnej Simoncic, who has not seen his gap extend to over a second. As we actually have our first pitter, and we were talking about the potential of undercuts. Well, Wojciech Lukaszek, after taking P9 away from his teammate, has just come in now. He's strapping on a set of the soft compound tyre, so looking to go long for a second stint.
Yeah, indeed. And he will rejoin in, I think, quite a lot of clean air. So perhaps that undercut might work out for him.
Yeah, he is joining dead last, isn't he? Just behind Kevin Ryan. So he will have to overtake Ryan, but I think the pace shown from Lukaszek so far should prove pretty favourable. He shouldn't have too many problems. Yeah,
11 laps on that ultra soft. Pretty consistent through there. Basically all of his laps were 14.2. So let's see what he's able to do on these soft tyres.
That more suggests a 3-stop for me, though.
Yeah. I think, well, unless he does another soft after this, might be able to take it to the end, but has to do a very long, at least like 25 laps on this tyre.
Alright, so once again, Gosby deliberately going out of the slipstream of Jurnej Simoncic. It's an interesting strategy. I mean, he looks fast, he looks pacey as both Costa and Brakshock now come in to cover off the undercut attempt from Lukaszek, although I guess from Brakshock's point of view, Lukaszek was ahead already. Ricardo Costa going onto the soft compound tyre. Brakshock joining him there as well. Let's see what Lukaszek's going to do then. He's going to get DRS help as well from Kevin Ryan. Just behind him now, into turn 1. Not bold enough to go for a move. And on exit, Costa is going to jump both of them. So that has worked out very favourably indeed from Ricardo Costa. And Kevin Ryan ultimately proving to be both a hindrance and a help. He gifted him DRS, but he also gifted him a car to get past. And not able to do that, Costa's going to remain ahead for now. And so, with the bottom of the top 10 all pitting, we've got to look up now to the top 7. Who is going to pull the trigger next? You'd say Jurnej Simoncic is pretty comfortable, but he could look to make the power moves now. Just looking down, it looks like Kish is in, yeah. And Patel's going to go round again. So an early call from Danny Kish. Difficult to say whether he's actually going to gain any time on D'Alessandro, because there was quite a sizable gap between the two. But it's kind of left Patel in a bit of no man's land, as he could have reacted to it, but clearly he's going to stick to his own guns. Yeah, let's see where Kish actually rejoined, because I think it's going to be pretty close to the cars of Lukaszek, Kevin Ryan and Brakshock. Let's see, as he comes out right there, just in front of Costa there. So, Costa, yeah, I'm right behind Peter Schultz, who is still on a old set of soft tires. So hopefully he doesn't get
stuck behind parachutes for too long.
Well, I tell you what, I'd be worried if I'm Mohammed Patel now, because look how close Costa is. That undercut has gained him a healthy amount.
Yep.
And that's a small gap for Patel to filter back into once he pits.
Yeah, indeed. Patel really struggling a little bit in the early stages of this race. Hasn't really shown the pace. Dropped back a bit from that leading pack, and I'll see...
D'Alessandro in.
Yeah.
And Patel in. So they're double stacking down at Jean Lacey Esports.
Also Jos Araneda. So the pit stops.
Sorry, Araneda in? On the soft tyres?
Yeah, he's into the pits.
Ah.
On the softs. Interesting. Goes to the supers.
Let's see, D'Alessandro onto the softs and Patel onto the softs. So following the structure as we have seen it, D'Alessandro on pit exit. Where is Danny Kish? Danny Kish just coming through turn 1 now. So D'Alessandro's clean ahead. And what about Mohammed Patel? What about Mohammed Patel? He has been jumped, not just by Costa, but by Lukaszek as well.
Yeah, Patel losing out quite a lot here in the pit stop phase. The first pit stop phase. Rejoining behind Lukaszek, behind Peter Schultz, behind Ricardo Costa, and behind Daniel Kish. And losing to Kiss around, that's 4 seconds at least.
So so the net positions will put him in P9 because Brackshock was P10 on pit entry, if I remember correctly.
Berbelyak is also coming in, I think. Yep.
Along with Gosby as well, and so Simoncic and Panzar go round again. Now that might put a little bit of pressure on the leaders. Certainly, Leonov and Hutchinson and Valeriano and Fournier all going through, along with Birakov. Michael's in, though, on the super softs. And so, despite this theoretical longer tyre life, very open strategy mindsets from a lot of these guys. Michael's going onto the softs. And Gosby, where does he rejoin? He is going to rejoin just ahead of Michele D'Alessandro. Petter Burlak, actually, comes out behind D'Alessandro, so the undercut proving mightily effective here.
Yeah, the undercut is very, very powerful at this track, it seems. And we might, in the later stages of this race, when the second and maybe third pit stop will happen, see some drivers thinking a bit more about that. If they see a competitor coming into the pit lane, immediately go after him, because it seems that even 1 or 2 laps makes the difference for the position. And we haven't really seen a lot of on-track overtakes, at least for the lead or for the lead pack. So strategically, might be very tempting to go for undercuts here today.
Simon Cicchini's got to be in, yeah, as is Robin Panzar, surely. They've got to pit after what they just... If there's any feeding through about what's just happened, they need to know. Simoncic pits onto the softs. Panzar pits onto the softs as well, surely. Got to be, yes. Yellow. Good to see. Valeriano in as well.
Gosby had a bit of traffic there with the car of Steven Michaels, I think it was. Might not be able... Okay, his teammate. And I think he rejoins right behind Simoncic.
So close, but no cigar. But look at D'Alessandro. In fact, look at Panzar. Panzar's ended up behind Burlak.
Yep. The Panzer losing
3 positions.
Yes.
And of course now we've got this bizarre situation where we still have a lot of these guys on the alternate strategy who have yet to pit. So even Leonov still holding up. In fact, Leonov's gotten back past Mark Hutchinson since we last came to them. So starting on the super softs has actually ended up to be quite a bad strategy in the long run of things, because Hutchinson could have gone a little bit longer.
POP closing the door there on Petter Burlak, as Petter Burlak is trying to get past him right now, coming out of the Leping hairpin onto the Casino Straight. Surely this is going to be a straightforward move for Burlak. He has the top speed, he has the DRS. Yes, indeed. Whoa, Peef going into the pit lane, almost hitting the back there of Petter Burlak, but manages to keep just clear. He is also going for a pretty early stop for those soft tires, I would say.
Yeah, so let's try and figure out a net order here. So Simoncic, Gosby, D'Alessandro will be your podium as of yet. So D'Alessandro really making that first pit stop phase work out, despite not showing a good load of pace in the first stint. Burlak will be 4th ahead of Panzar in 5th. Costa up to 6th, so he's actually just overtaken Danny Kish in the meanwhile. I'm pretty sure that was a DRS overtake down the main straight, and so that's good work from Costa to move his way up the order. It'll then be Lukashek and Patel, and look at Jos Araneda. After pitting in early from those soft compound tyres, he's actually jumped Janos Brakshok. So as things stand, not of course counting what's going to happen with the alternate strategy runners ahead, he wasn't on an alternate strategy, he's switched strategies, and he's in the points paying positions.
Jeffrey Fournier, one of the guys that hasn't pit yet, now closing into Mark Hutchinson, of course, also hasn't pit yet. Ivan Leonov just went into the pit lane, but this battle for, well, in fact, the lead now, but obviously, theoretically, this is not the lead of the race. That would be Jurne Simocic, who's closing in on these guys pretty rapidly as well.
They've got to go long, surely. I mean, listen, after seeing how many people have jumped into the pits early on their so-called alternate strategies, these guys might as well commit to something longer, because if they can gain an extra pit stop over everyone, that puts them in serious contention for some decent points at the end of the day. And actually, to be fair as well, look at this. Now the front pack is starting to catch up, so maybe there's a bit of gamesmanship here. They can stay out and they can hold up the leaders, which then in turn betters their chances of getting into points paying positions.
Yeah, of course they need to watch out once the leaders get past them. They shouldn't stay out for much longer, because they will just lose time and time from then on. But if they can keep these leaders behind them for like 1 or 2 laps, it's already quite a big difference, as at least 2 of them come in. Fournier and Mark Hutchinson. Kirill Burikov stays out leading the race, as he did in Azerbaijan for at least 100 meters.
He's living his dreams. Let him be. Let him be. So where does Hutchinson and Fournier come out? Fournier onto another set of softs. Hutchinson switching onto the softs. They're going to be coming out in the midfield, far away from the points action, which of course doesn't bode well for Birikov, unless he's going for something spectacular. And yes, Matt Tucson, it does still look like a Renault. You're not going to convince me otherwise. It is an Invictus, I know it is, don't worry, but nice inspired colour scheme, certainly. Nice livery, actually. Nice job from all the guys in the field. I know I haven't had much chance to talk about it this year since I haven't been here live, but a lovely job from everyone in the field. Some great liveries on display. I especially like John Lacey's esports livery. Yeah. It's almost like a camo livery that you'd see in some like Call of Duty or something.
I also really like the Frami Autosport one, the one Giordano Fabriano is driving.
They always bring good liveries to their cars. I've seen him in other series here and there, and it's a nice clean colour scheme. I like a bit of white and orange.
Definitely.
Speaking of white, let's go back to ACR, shall we? Currently in P2. Funnily enough, is my eyes deceiving me, or are they not catching Kirill Birikov?
Not as quickly as they might have wanted, perhaps. Let's see the lap times. Birikov, last lap, 14.1. Simocic, 14.3. So,
gaining time.
Gaining time, yeah. And he is on those, well, pretty old, soft tire. 20 laps now. Simocic did only 4 on his set, so you would expect Simocic to be quicker. But perhaps, I don't know, Kirill just found a bit of pace on the track and made some use of it. But his strategy will definitely benefit from staying in front of this lead pack for as long as he possibly can.
Of course, all these guys have to use 2 different types of tyre compound, and so even if theoretically Birikov was to make it to lap 30-35, he couldn't just go onto another set of soft tyres and make it to the end. He has to switch onto a different set of compound tyres, but once again, going around confidently, quietly going about his business. He's lost 3 tenths to Simicic on that lap. He's actually gained another couple of tenths as they cross the line. It's something about that back straight. He doesn't even have DRS helping him. He might just have a lower wing downforce setup, but it's working for him. I mean, if he keeps up this pace, then just keep on going. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. And perhaps he did now 22 laps. So that's still 49 to go. If he goes for another soft after this, I guess he could do the 2-stop with a super soft or maybe even an ultra soft at the end of the race.
I'd say soft, ultra soft, probably.
Yeah.
What we're looking at, like a reverse of the top 10 strategy that we're most likely to see. Although, to be fair, on this particular lap, Jurnej Simčić, 8 bucket loads out of Birakov's lead. That's 7/10 over the first couple of sectors. And maybe the Russian thinking of pulling in now. I certainly would be. But not him. Not on this occasion.
No.
He's going to go round again.
He's keeping his head down. Putting in the laps. Last lap was 9/10 slower than Simčić. So definitely losing the time right now. Simčić within a second.
Further back, Kish and Costa, going side by side through turns 1 and 2. It was Kish around the outside of 1. Obviously, hooks in on the inside of 2, almost banging wheels, and Costa has to concede. That was a brilliant little piece of driving from Danny Kish. Persistency paid off. He's back up into P7. And that's also, by proxy, opened up a bit of a gap to Robin Panzar ahead now. So Burlak... Yeah, Burlak was ahead of Panzar, wasn't he? But still, these top 5, these top 6, unable to find much advantage over each other. With the exception of Birakov, of course, up the front. But it seems like they are very, very equally matched in terms of pace. That nobody can really find a decent opportunity to throw it up the inside. There he is.
Yep, coming into the pit lane now. Let's see what he's going to. Probably the softs, I would imagine. Or maybe even ultra softs now and then a soft at the end. Will open up the strategy a bit more for him. Yeah, softs.
And he's going to be coming out well down the order. We're looking at maybe P17 overall. It's a pretty short pit lane. But it is still long enough to see everyone else through. So here comes the trio of Fournier, Hutchinson and Michaels. Birakov is let loose on pit lane exit. He'll be, I think, very conscious not to mess up pit lane speed limiters again. And he is going to come out in P17. So actually a bit of clean air ahead of him to work with. And of course, he'll have the knowledge that everyone ahead of him pitted much earlier. And so they should move out the way sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Bidukov having the interesting strategy here. Might go for the two-stop when I think most of the drivers are going for the 3-stop. So right now the gap between him and the lead is only 19 seconds.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? The top 17 still 20 seconds apart.
Yep. And if he does a pit stop less, obviously he will lose some time by not having fresh tires compared to the others. But might still be challenging for top 10 positions here.
Well, if he's got a pit stop on everyone else, he's in the net lead of this race, Felix. There's no other way to look at it. I feel like as this second stint plays out, that'll become maybe podium top 5 territory. But to be fair, everyone up front is kind of half holding themselves up, half not. I don't think they're going at their ultimate pace, mostly because they're looking to save the tyres a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, very strange position though. It's a bizarre Grand Prix. I don't think I've seen one like this in a while where it could all kick off at any moment. It's simmering, but it's not boiled over.
Yeah, we've seen it before, that there's a lot of drivers close to each other. Right now, pretty much all of the drivers are on the same strategy, but we've seen in basically in the last 3 races that the strategies almost always all the drivers have different strategies, even with different tires at different stages in the race. But then in the last 5 laps, everything goes upside down, wrong way around. Just everything comes together and all the drivers start battling with each other with the different strategies. I mean, perfect example is China, where Simčić.
Oh, sorry, I've got a Brack Shock. Brack Shock in P11 has had a massive moment. We'll go back to that in a bit, Felix. But I saw him. He was having a little look on Jos Araneda for that final point position. And Brack Shock, after such a good qualifying, once again finds himself missing a wing on his car. And it was it wasn't the Wall of Champions, but it was the Champions chicane that caught him out. Too much power, too soon, wall met, and now he's got to do a lap of shame without that front wing.
Yeah, let's take a look at what happened there. See if we can get it to load. So indeed, Wall of Champions. Let's go on board. What happened? Oh yeah, just lost it. Lost it on the exit curb. And that's pretty much, well, I wouldn't say end of the race for him, but that's his chances of a good points paying position definitely ruined.
And that gives Jos Araneda all the encouragement he needs further up the order, by the way. Patel looking on the inside of Lukaszek. Oh my goodness me, how close was that? The nose was chopped off, and Patel had to back out of that one. Otherwise, the two of them could have found themselves going for a spin. Jos Araneda, as we speak, by the way, going into the pits once again, absolutely burning through those tyres at a rate of knots. He's joined by, of course, Janos Brakshok, who requires a new front wing. But for now, Lukaszek remains ahead. Patel in 9th, and it'll be Giordano Valeriano rounding out the top 10 now as Araneda pits onto a fresh set of softs.
Yeah, he only did 11 laps on those super softs. Did 14 on the softs earlier. So I guess might be even on a 4-stop today here.
Which would instantly write him out of contention of any point. Alternatively, given how strong the undercut around here is, could it be possible that he's looking to get all of his pit stops done and out the way as early as possible, with an eye to being on his final set of tyres earlier than everyone else to try and gain time? It's a risky strategy. It
Definitely,
doesn't make much sense to me, but it's possible.
Yeah, perhaps he's trying. I don't know if it will work. We'll have to wait and see for the latter stages of the race. Perhaps if he is on that 4-stop, might be able to stir things up a bit more in the midfield, just being quicker than most of the drivers, but being behind them as well, because they did 1 stop more. We're just gonna have to wait and see what's gonna do. Patel now looking to make that overtake on Wojciech Lukaszek that he wasn't able to do before.
And still unable to do it. I imagine he'll have to stay behind for this first sector for now. It's a lap 28 of 70, by the way. I know it's not exactly a nice round figure to look at the order, but with Araneda pitting so early, the order we shall look at. It is still Simicic who leads from Gosby, D'Alessandro rounding out the podium, Burlak and Panzar watch closely, and then you've got the duo of Kish and Costa a couple of seconds behind. You then have to go 4 seconds back to find the second couple of Lukaszek and Patel, and of course Valeriano inheriting that final point-paying position. It's going to be interesting to see how Araneda's strategy plays out, also how close Leonov, Fournier and Hutchinson can get, and maybe they can attempt some overtakes themselves. The only retirement so far from this Canadian Grand Prix is Sander Kalash, who lost it on the exit of turn 4, front wing off, decided to call it a day. So a relatively tame Canadian Grand Prix, some would say, but the strategy's yet to play out, and as if on cue, Wojciech Lukaszek into the pit lane to bolt on another new set of the soft compound tyre.
Yeah, indeed, also a driver that stopped pretty early for his second pit stop. 11 on the ultras at the start and 16 now on the softs. When you would expect them to do well, at least close to 20 laps on those soft tires. So perhaps opting for that strategy that you talked about earlier, James, to be on your final set of tires as soon as possible to make an undercut work. He has a bit of free air here, so might be able to work on an undercut compared to Patel and the drivers around him, but it's a risky strategy for sure.
And let's keep an eye as well on Birakov's story, because Lukaszek has come out behind Birakov. And if we're thinking of Birakov as a potential 2-stopper with ultras in a late stint at the end, things could be looking very good for the Russian indeed. Currently sitting in points positions as things stand, if we believe what is the case is actually the case. It's all mind games. It's all stuff that we'll find out later in the race. I do like thinking about it, though. I'm sorry if your brain is hurting now. Go and take some paracetamol or something, I don't know. Jene Simicic then still leading, and Martin Gosby is either the most patient man in the world or the most frustrated man in the world, Felix. I can't quite decide which. He's surely got to be happy that he's up there in P2. It's good points, but he'd rather be in P1, surely.
Yeah, you would think so, but perhaps he's just waiting his time. I've said it before. When you drive in front of a race for a very long time, Simicic has driven in front of everybody for 30 laps now, you have to burn a lot more fuel than the drivers behind you. And Gosby has been in this DRS for the whole race, has been able to save fuel. We've seen him on purpose not making an attempt to overtake Simicic. So perhaps he's just saving. And in the last stint with like 10, 15 laps to go, might be able to then go for the overtake, use more fuel to make the gap after that, and perhaps then win the race. But of course, it's easy to say so far ahead. There's still 40 laps to go.
Sadly, our second retirement of the day now confirmed, and it's Peter Schulze who went for a spin and then a half back spin. That was down on the exit of turn 7. A very unassuming incident, but one that sees the German become our second retirement in that Invictus machine. Lap 31 of 70. And to be fair, actually, now would be a good time to touch on it. Let's talk a little bit about these different fuel mixtures. And perhaps, I would think, maybe what is to explain for this relative calm and stagnation up at the front. Like you say, Simicic burning more fuel. That allows the guys behind to go into lower fuel mixtures, right, to save fuel. Could pay dividends at the end of the race.
Yeah. I mean, the cars take about 140 liters of fuel total. And the drivers have 2 fuel mixtures to play with. A lean mix and a rich mix. And next to that, they also have some qualifying boost. Basically, party mode that they can use maybe once, twice, maybe 3 times if they are really careful in this race. If they use it more, they will blow the engine for sure. But they have to play with that. They have to find the places where you want to use the more of your fuel and where you want to save it a bit. But when you have that DRS from the driver in front of you, you have a lot less drag. You will be able to lift a bit more before the corners because you gain that speed down the main straight or down the straights of the DRS. So Gosby, for example, will have a lot more fuel to play with at the end of the race.
Now, Costa, he was one of the big winners from the first pit stop phase. He gained a good couple of positions, and he's come in relatively early now as Valeriano. The camera angle I have joined him at is unassuming. The state of his car as he retires from the race, awful. Same with even Leonov. I smell an incident, and I'm going to find out what happened. Let's see. So it was Leonov. Oh, it was Valeriano who lost it on the exit of turn 4, and he just came across the track. Leonov had nowhere to go. Very easy to see why both cars are out the race. Super unlucky for Leonov, and Valeriano, I'm afraid, at fault for all of that.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Nothing Leonov could have done there, really. Valeriano also, after the incident, of course, nothing really he could have done.
Tell you what, Hutchinson lost his front wing in that as well.
Oh, so cost at least 3 drivers their race.
That's a big yikes. That is a big yikes, and all of a sudden our retirement count has been doubled. Hutchinson is going to try and trudge on here, but that is worst case scenario for ACR, isn't it, Felix? Of course, they've been looking to try and pull ahead at the top of the team's championship, and as things stand, they're only going to have one car scoring, admittedly, 25 points, but they would have liked a little bit more, because you look at the likes of Burlak and Kish, and I mean, the points difference is only going to be extended by, 5 to 10 as things stand?
Yeah, the difference in missing a race or having a DNF in one race can make a huge difference in the end of the season when the points are distributed, as Michele D'Alessandro comes into the pit lane for a second stop. First of the leading pack to make his second stop. Did 18 laps on these soft tires, not a lot if you consider that he did 14 on the ultras. Now,
I'd say He's the biggest winner, though, surely, out of the previous pit stop. That's a pretty quick one as well. Of course, he jumped up onto the podium after the last pit stop, so he might very well be looking to gun for the lead with this undercut. Danny Kish also coming in an attempt to cover off Ricardo Costa. I think this particular attempt to cover off Costa is going to be a lot more successful than the first, and actually it looks like he's gained a bit of time on Costa, who might have been stuck with a bit of traffic there, depending... Not too sure. Either way, Danny Kish is ahead for now, so things will remain as they are on that occasion. D'Alessandro, we wait with a bated breath, but his progress might be stifled a little bit because the Frenchman, in the form of Geoffrey Fournier, is ahead of him.
Yeah, Fournier hasn't been a driver that's very known to let the drivers on a different strategy behind them pass very easily. He tends to really fight for his position, even though if he's not really racing the car behind him. So this might be a bit of a problem for Michele D'Alessandro, but I think with the DRS down this casino straight, it will be pretty easy move for him.
Forcing the issue as well, going on the inside. That is an easy position for Michele. And up into P6 on track. Interestingly enough, Felix, none of the top 5 blinking. They're all going round again.
Yeah. So D'Alessandro, it's 36 laps remaining. If he can do like 20 on this set of soft tires, then he will be able to go to the ultra softs at the end of the race. Perhaps. It's going to be close though. It's a bit of a stretch to go that long on the ultra softs at the end. Perhaps he might be going to the supers. But if the other drivers of the, well, basically top 5 are able to go a bit longer on this set, they might be able to go to the ultras pretty comfortably at the end of the race. So, difficult to see if this really will work out for Michele D'Alessandro, but he will definitely get the undercut here now.
They'll also be wary, surely, of how poorly the super soft runners have, well, run. The answer is not very fast, and with not much progress. It seems like a bit of a middle of nowhere tyre where it's got some pace, sure, but is it worth going on to that as opposed to the soft compound tyre? The evidence would suggest not. We're lap 36, already halfway through what has been an intriguing Canadian Grand Prix. Currently in the middle of our second pit stop phase, so we won't go through the order as of yet, as if on cue. Stephen Michaels for Flag to Flag, just coming in now. The real cat amongst the pigeons is Kirill Birakov, who we believe is on a very elongated 2-stop strategy. Soft, soft, potentially ultra soft. By the end, it could see him up and about in the mix to battle for top 5 potentially. It depends. We've really got to see how the next 10-20 laps pan out for him, and what compound tyre he chooses to go on for his third and potentially final stint. Yoni Simičić has been effectively leading the net race for this entire Canadian Grand Prix so far. Martin Gosby, however, has pretty much been within a second from light out. Is he biding his time? Is this his ultimate pace? Is Jerne biding his time? Is Jerne using his ultimate pace? Lots of questions. Not so many answers as of yet, but that's why we're going to stick around for the next 35 laps to find out. Michele D'Alessandro, currently the man with the power in play, trying to get an undercut going. Nobody blinking, and that might end up serving him poorly as everyone else keeps going on, as everyone else doesn't choose to pit. It gives Michele less and less chance to really put those soft tyres to good use in this stint.
Yeah, but he does have the clean air, so might be able to get quite a big undercut compared to the drivers in front of him. Last lap was 7/10 quicker compared to Pansar and Peter Broljak.
Actually, yeah, looking at the gap between first and him,
it might actually be, at least for some time, that he gains the position compared to the drivers like Gosby, Broljak and Pansar. But then after that, it's going to be the question, will he be able to stick to those positions in the final stint when he has to pit earlier and perhaps take a harder compound compared to the others?
it is debatable if he's in the net lead at the moment, actually. 18.6 seconds away from the lead.
That's close.
That's nip and tuck, but that could be lead.
Yeah, but I'm sure the engineers of FSR will be looking very closely to that gap and probably pitting Martin Gosby, Joni Simičić, the like of just before Michele D'Alessandro gets in between that window. Or perhaps they won't. Perhaps they are on a different strategy and they will be like, okay, sure, take that first position for now. We will take it back anyway in the last stint.
Well, here comes Burlack anyway. Out comfortably in P6. And so actually that gives us pretty good information on the Birokov story. If Burlack's coming out in P6, then maybe Birokov's total potential is a little bit less than we would have expected. To be fair, the pace of the front lot have really started to ratchet up in the last couple of laps in comparison to Birokov, who has been falling off ever so slightly over the last few laps himself. And so Burlack has ended up 3 seconds almost exactly behind D'Alessandro, who surely will be let through by his teammate down the casino straight. He gets a bit of DRS help as well, but he was slowed up a little bit on the hairpin, so you give and you get. Here comes the DRS now, and surely D'Alessandro going to be let through.
Patel's probably pitting, yeah.
Patel's pitting, so
they...
problem solved.
Yeah, because I didn't see Michele going for the overtake.
And Fournier coming in as well.
Yeah. So let's see Patel going to the softs as well. Fournier. Lucky there that Patel got out of the way just in time.
But actually, look at Araneda. He's going through now up into P10.
Fournier on to the super softs, by the way. 32 laps, perhaps doing one super soft and then an ultra soft. Could be a strategy.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Always been one to go for the bolder strategy is Jeffrey Fournier, so we'll see how that plays out. Patel back out into P11. He's got 4 seconds to Araneda as well, so he can put those softs to good use in trying to catch up the gap at least. A bit of a nothing race again for Patel, though. It's not that pace has evaporated necessarily. He's still a good driver, but not troubling the podium sitters once again. Speaking of, Simičić, Gosby, Panzer, all going round again. But D'Alessandro still closing that gap down to the leader. He's just going to cross the line now as he heads on to lap 40. And we're down to 17.7. That is sizable chunks each lap.
It definitely is. Last lap gained just over 5/10 to Simičić. What is Avid Chronic Racing going to do about this? Because if they don't stop within the next 2-3 laps, D'Alessandro is definitely going to take the lead. But
are they trying to extend? Are they trying to extend this stint to save themselves a pit stop?
Maybe if they, because they need to go to one set of softs. Probably be possible. Less than 30 laps. If they stay out for another 3 laps, definitely it's going to be possible to go for a last soft stint. But then, well, then Michele is pretty much done for. Because if he has to stop again, he's going to have a gap of, well, pretty much 17 seconds to the lead of the race. We'll have a bit fresher tires then, of course, but I don't think he's going to be able to gain that much time.
I mean, it's all about how long can the softs actually last. Have we been seeing some porky pies about how long these tires can go? Because we're looking at... So we were confused. Why would you pit with 12 laps on soft tires? Why would you pit with 16 laps on soft tires when we're looking at 20 plus?
Yeah.
Maybe that strategy that we were thinking Jos Araneda was doing, maybe that's been the ruse that the entire field has been in on.
Yeah, at least the ACR guys.
And actually, look how significant this is. Simičić has brought that gap up to 2 seconds now. It's hammer time. You feel like he's putting in some hard laps now. Goodness, he has booked it. He has booked it properly. 2.2 seconds.
Yeah, that last lap was second to Martin Gosby.
Bye.
Well, Gosby also lost 7/10 compared to Panzer, so I guess Gosby made a mistake somewhere, at least a bit. But also Simic just really starting to pick up the pace. Hammer time, like you said, perhaps coming in for a pit stop in the next few laps.
D'Alessandro, by the way, still going quicker, however, now within 16.7 of the lead. And actually, look at Petter Burlak here as well. Himself now within 18.7 seconds. But I guess this is the big call, isn't it? If ACR only have one stop left, then they're going to be going to the end of the race, whereas Burlak and D'Alessandro potentially condemn themselves to one final pit stop, which would see them lose the lead immediately.
Yeah. Simic stays out for now.
Let's have a fair shout to Birakov as well. Finds himself up in P6 now. We believe he has one more stop as well, but so does everyone else around him. So this is where Birakov should be. He is fighting for P6 along with Danny Kish.
Yeah. So started from P16 up to P6. That's definitely not a bad race for him so far.
He had a poor start as well. He fell down to P18. But this might be P7. Yeah. Pretty easy for the Hungarian. Slides his way up the inside of turn 1. There wasn't much fighting from Birakov. He knows he's on much older tyres, on a very different strategy, but he's making it work. And next on his to-do list will be to try and fend off Ricardo Costa for as long as he can. Yeah. And to be fair, Danny Kish will be hoping he does that as well.
I'm pretty sure he will. Costa is flying. He just did a 13.3. Kish did basically the same time, but still. They're on roughly the same strategy. So I'm sure Kish will be happy if Vidikov keeps him behind a bit further.
Fascinating. Love it. Absolutely love it. Good race. Panzer in. So the furthest away from the leaders, who has yet to pit, comes in. Now, what tyres are you going on to? Softs. As expected.
Right.
27 laps on softs. From the evidence that we have so far, Felix, not a chance.
He did.
From what... Gone.
He did last stint. He did 26.
Oh, really? Okay, so he can make it to the end.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to go to the end. And, pretty much Jean Alesi Esports and Edge are almost out of contention, I would say, with that.
They're committed to the final stop.
Yeah.
To be fair, they would go on to Ultras, though. And by the end of the race, that is going to be a monumental difference in both tyre life and tyre compound.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same as we had in China.
Yeah.
It's going to be the catch-up race for the Jean Alesi and the Edge drivers. And it's going to just have to, fall into place for them if they can catch up and get past, at least for the podium positions of Gosby and Panzer.
Coming in one by one. Martin Gosby in next. To be expecting Jerne Simic the following lap. As expected, soft tyres on for Gosby as well. By the way, Panzer came out behind Ricardo Costa, interestingly, who's now onto the back of Kirill Birakov. So Birakov could he could do Panzer a solid favour here by keeping Costa behind. Gosby, exit. Where's Birakov? Is he going to come out ahead of Gosby? No, here comes Gosby now, and he's actually got now ahead of Danny Kish. Great timing, brilliant strategy, and he's into P4.
Yeah, great strategy here. Once again, ACR showing that they have the brains, and putting Gosby in front of Daniel Kish is very important for them. Now Gosby can pull out the gap, and even considering Kish has to probably stop again. Kish's race, at least compared to Gosby, is done for.
Kish pitted on lap 33.
So he would have to do 40.
Pretty much half the race on the soft tyres, which isn't going to happen.
No.
It's going to be Ultras at the end, so Simic in now. So really, we're going to be expecting the Edge boys and John Alesi in. Got to be around lap 55 for the Ultras. Got to be. to try and gain time.
Yeah, the gap between Simicic and D'Alessandro right now is roughly 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So, it's even a bit less, roughly 4 seconds.
And as if on cue, look who's come in, Mr. Araneda.
Yep.
And he's got those soft tyres until the end as well. So he's put himself in a great position for points.
Indeed he has. Now, if D'Alessandro is able to pull out a bit more of a gap, of course he doesn't have to go as far on his softs if he's doing another stop at least. So he can push them a bit more. If you can pull out the gap between him and at least Goldsby to around 10 seconds, I would think with the ultra softs in the end of the race, he might be able to catch up to them. But it's gonna be, it's a risky strategy, and we've seen in China that it doesn't always pay off.
It's just looking better and better for Jurnej Simicic, isn't it? I mean, we're potentially talking about 10, 15 second lead for him by the end of the race.
Yeah, perhaps. But let's wait and see what the Jean Alesi Esport drivers will be able to do in this next few laps. I guess they will be coming in roughly 10 laps max.
Excuse me, Kirill? So firstly, Kirill's in. Now, what tyre would you say he should go on to? I would say super soft at this point to try and make it to the end.
Yeah.
He's gone on to the ultras
Okay.
with 24 laps to go.
I don't know why he would do that.
That's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, let's see. We'll have the pace, of course, now. We'll probably go pretty quick around the track, but will he be able to keep himself within the points even? Because he probably won't make it to the end of the race from this set. If he stops again, he's dropping back to P16, 17?
Is the super soft tyre that bad?
I don't know. Maybe Kirill thinks so.
It was a rhetorical question, Felix. Don't worry. I don't expect you to have all the answers on this one. But it does all add up, doesn't it? The fact that no super soft tyre runner had a particularly decent first stint. Araneda didn't look that fast on his second stint. It's like everyone's avoided it like the plague since they found out what happened in the first stint.
Yeah, I guess so. Now, Peter Burdick is catching up a bit to Michele D'Alessandro. Gap between them under a second. Simicic is roughly as quick as Brojak and D'Alessandro. Goldsby is a little bit slower. Kish is a little bit slower. The gap between Simicic and D'Alessandro is still roughly 4 seconds. I don't know. Let's see what these drivers are going to do. Jean Alesi and Edge are in a tough position.
The only way they're going to win this race is if they can make the tyres last until the end of the race.
Yeah.
Or if Jurnej Simicic, let's hope it doesn't happen, has an issue of some kind.
Rodger coming out of the pit lane there. He doing his final pit stop, presumably.
Going to cause a distraction. His teammate, actually, Wojciech Lukaszek, coming in now as well from P8. And so that's going to drop him behind a number of runs. The one that we're looking at is Birakov and Araneda, really. How bizarre.
Yeah,
It really does seem to me that ACR's just stolen the march over everyone. You got to feel for Hutchinson on a different strategy to all the other guys, and the race was just taken out of his hands.
Yeah, nothing could really do. Unfortunate, but stuff like that unfortunately happens. Panzer, I think, is starting to position himself to make a move onto Ricardo Costa here.
Panzer has received the short end of the stick, hasn't he? Because he was in that train of 5, and yet now finds himself having to battle through the rest of the top 5. He's into 6th now, eases past Ricardo Costa. There was no resistance there, so he is starting to show a little bit of pace.
Patel
yeah.
has made a mistake of some sort, I think.
Oh,
Lost quite a bit of time. Let's see if I can find on the replay what happened there.
you could do that. You could do that. To be fair, he has been off. It wouldn't surprise me that he's 8 seconds off Ricardo Costa.
We go on board with Patel. Maybe he just went wide in a corner a bit. A bit of a lag spike for him.
Oh.
Lost a bit of time, not too much. But, well, doesn't ruin his race that much. Let's go back live. Boyak just got past, or is getting past, Michele D'Alessandro.
That was very early on the Casino Straight as well. And this is for position. It seemed so mundane, but these two are on very similar strategies. Of course, D'Alessandro pitting much earlier than even by Petter Burlak's pit stop. And so this move was coming, you kind of sensed it.
Yeah, D'Alessandro is now 17 laps into his stint, so if you would take that he did 19 laps in his first soft stint, we're doing roughly another 2 laps, maybe a bit more because the fuel loads are lighter. And then do like 17 laps on the supers, but we've seen drivers avoid the supers. So maybe go a bit further and go on the ultras. Or try to somehow do another 20 laps on this set, but I really doubt that.
I think we've got to look short term, don't we? Stay ahead of Simoncic as long as you can. As soon as you lose that position to Simoncic, if you lose that position to Simoncic, you might as well come in and strap on the ultras to give yourself the best chance of recovering positions. And to be fair as well, the drivers will know whether they can make it to the end or not. So if they can stretch, if they can try, then they might as well. But if it's clear that they're losing more tyre than will be available to them at the end, then their fates are kind of sealed by this point as Ricardo Costa comes in. That seems... Actually, Costa came in before D'Alessandro. Curious. And he's going on to the soft compound tyre again.
Yeah, he did 19. I think 19 laps in this set.
It makes Birikov's decision all the weirder, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Bidikov now did 5 laps. He has gained a lot of time, obviously. Fastest guy on track. Last lap at 1 minute 12.4, which is 7/10 quicker than what Petter Boyak was able to do last lap. But still, it's a weird choice to go onto that ultra soft, because he won't be able to go to the end, especially if he's pushing so hard to do the fastest lap of the race.
Best case scenario, we always know Birikov goes to the fastest lap in the race. This is FSR law by this point. If somehow he makes these tyres last, then he could have put himself back in contention for the top 5. As unfortunately, the sad day for Mark Hutchinson comes to a miserable end. And let's see how he met his end. I think this might very well be...
D'Alessandro's in decision. Sorry to undercut you there.
Oh, go for it.
So D'Alessandro goes for soft. I think Kish goes for softs as well. Unless it's not loaded for me yet, but...
Nope, softs and softs, yeah.
So,
all correct.
18 laps to go for them. On the soft tire, the gap between them and the lead is about 20 seconds. Which they are never going to catch up on those softs, I think. They would need pretty much a second a lap, a bit more than that. Compared to Jurne Simoncic.
Interesting.
Maybe to Panzer. Panzer's only 10 seconds up the road. Maybe that's possible for them. To get at least a podium for D'Alessandro. But I don't think there's much more for them to grab here today.
Hutchinson, by the way, another victim of turn 4. We've seen it all too many times already. Too hot on the power, on exit, and around she goes, losing both wings, which was quite impressive. And Hutchinson becomes our 5th retirement of the day, following Leonov, Valeriano, Schulze, and Kalash. Lap 54 then of the 2019 World Championship Canadian Grand Prix, of course, presented by our good friends over at Thrustmaster. And I guess it is a case of the inevitable. Sooner rather than later, we expect the arrival of Croatian Petar Burlak into the pit lane. Or will he surprise us? To be fair, after that Chinese Grand Prix, anything could happen. We really don't know. With Birakov's pole position, I mean, Birikov, absolute madman on ultra softs here for this. Well, what we thought was going to be a final stint, I imagine it might be a penultimate stint now at this point. But still plenty of time to go. And Jurnej Simoncic, you can't count out Martin Gosby either, currently sitting in P3, 3.6 seconds behind his stable mate, not necessarily his teammate, but of course ACR with 2 teams across the World Championship in the 2019 season. Burlak going round again. I tell you what, if there was any driver in this field who I would put money on to make tyres last longer than they should, it would be Petar Burlak.
Yeah, I totally agree. As we just watched Michele D'Alessandro Mohamed Patel letting Michele D'Alessandro past. Obviously, Michele is on the fresh tires. But yeah, Petar Burlak is one of those drivers that has the talent to somehow make tires work for much longer than they should.
He's one of the guys who is become kind of famous over the last couple of seasons, certainly across esports or e-racing or whatever you want to call it. The point is, he can perform the overcut like no one else. Incredibly calm and cool and collected in the management of his tyre life. But I do feel like there is still... This seems like a job too big for him. To be fair, he's keeping pace with Petar Burlak... with Jurnej Simoncic pretty comfortably. I mean, over the last sector, it was 10th and a half or so. Let's see what it is when they cross the line here. So Petar Burlak onto lap 56, Jurnej Simoncic onto lap 56, and again, it remained around 2.8 seconds. So his pace, honestly, Felix, isn't that bad. Again, only he will know, only his engineers will know just how manageable this situation is, whether he is absolutely guaranteed coming into the pit lane or whether there is a slim hope that he might be able to win this race still.
Yeah, it's all too... We don't know really. we can speculate, but like you said, only he and their engineer really knows the story. I'm sure ACR will be grinding their gears to figure out what he's going to do. Because if he's going to pit again, that's pretty much giving Simoncic a lot of breathing room. Perhaps that will mean he has to save tires a bit more. Otherwise, Simoncic has to try and close the gap to him. It's still 3 seconds between him and Burlak. If Burlak doesn't pit, then Simoncic obviously will want to win this race. He will want to take 4 out of 4. But then he has to push and get past him.
That was 0.3 over the last lap. So, I mean, to be fair, it's lap 57 now. So that's 13 laps. I mean, to be fair, 0.3 over 13 laps is still far too much, but...
Let's wait and see. Alessandro, in the meantime, he is gaining compared to Gosby about a second a lap. The gap between him and Pantsar is roughly 7 seconds right now. Which will mean in the end of the race, I guess he would be able to at least get close to him. Perhaps make the move. 14 laps to go. Could be enough.
I'm fascinated by this. Oh, Burlak's in! Burlak's in!
Alright.
He had to come in, and so surely this is Ultras. It's gotta be Ultras at this point.
Yep.
Ultras it is. And
it's gonna be close at the exit as well compared to Alessandro, I think.
Yeah. Let's see. I think
has
Alessandro might have
now.
him. Patel's in, and so Burlak's going to be comfortable. Actually, no, Alessandro's comfortably ahead. But to be fair, Burlak is now on a 2 compound better tyre than D'Alessandro.
Yeah, he's going to be flying these next 14 laps.
I mean, yeah, look how... I wasn't expecting him to be this far or this close actually either, because D'Alessandro's 13 seconds. There we go. Burlak is 15 seconds behind Jurnej Simoncic. Now keep in mind, Jurnej Simoncic is going to be stretching those soft tyres. What was it, roughly 20, 25 laps that he still had to do from the time he pitted? And Burlak's got a fresh set of the fastest tyres. Maybe he's been saving qualifying mode as well. Don't count out Petter Burlak. I think there is still a lot in it for this race.
Yeah, if you consider Michele D'Alessandro is able to do 1 minute 12.1 on his soft, I guess Burlak will be able to do 1 minute 11, almost into the qualifying 1 minute 10s.
And if he's gaining over a second per lap, I mean, then we are talking, we're talking business here. So crosses line. Birokov, by the way, ruining his mistake now, does have to come in again. No surprises there, but Burlak is now 15 seconds flat off the lead.
Yeah. So Birokov losing more positions, down to P9, P10. Already gonna be rejoining just in front of Araneda, or just behind him.
Just behind Fournier, I believe.
Yeah, just in front of Araneda still.
But again, similar situation. He is on the ultras now, so I think points should be on the cards at least.
We'll be fighting for the top 10 for sure.
Potentially even P8 if he's lucky.
Yeah.
There is a big gap back to, or going up to Costa from Lukaszek though. So P8 probably... to be fair, P8 from P16, that's not a bad drive. Especially, surely that's got to have been a mistake from Birokov.
Buriak, Sector 2, actually slower than D'Alessandro last lap. Sector 1 was 2/10 quicker. But in Sector 2, lost out a little bit. Perhaps a bit of a mistake in the last sector.
But look at the overall gap to the lead. That was 9/10 over 1 lap.
Yep, indeed. 1 minute 12.1.
Still not enough though. It needs to be a second and a half per lap. I don't think he's going to be able to do, honestly.
Yeah, perhaps he's just warming up a bit now, getting into the groove of this faster tire, and then starting to stomp it down a bit later in the stint. But first target obviously is Michele D'Alessandro, who I think, I don't know if he will put up a fight against Petter. He knows he is on the quicker tire, obviously. But it's still basically for the end of the race, basically for the finishing position of P4, and D'Alessandro will at least try to keep it, I guess. Even though they're sister teammates.
This lap hasn't been that great from Burlak. Unless there's some monumental last sector coming in. No. See, that time around it was only 6/10 gained.
Yeah, you can see ACR also, both Gosby and Simoncic, about, well, a couple of tenths quicker than what they did last laps. I guess they are starting to pick up the pace again a bit. They dropped it down just slightly during the last 6-7 laps, perhaps saving the tire, saving the fuel. And now once they see Petter Burlak is starting to close in, let's open up the engine again. Let's put down some proper pace.
Let's take a little look at... Oh god, sorry.
They are looking very strong right now. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. I do want to take a little look down to Kirill Birokov now, who is right on the back of Jeffrey Fournier. And we kind of expected this one coming, but what we didn't expect was how far down the order Mohamed Patel would be. Of course, not helped by a lag spike by any means, but losing time on his final set of Ultra Softs, not getting away from Lukaszek at all.
Yeah. Interesting.
So Birokov just coming down the Casino straight now, going to have DRS to his aid. Fournier will not have DRS to aid him in defense though. And it's going to be potentially a late one from Birokov. No, does the sensible thing, stays behind. He knows he can line up and move into turn 1 perhaps. It was a good exit from Jeffrey Fournier there. Very calm. Very nicely done indeed. And he is unopposed going into turn 1. So keeps Kirill Birikov behind for another lap.
Interesting point Matt Tucson pointed out in the chat. Simicic, if Simicic wins, it will be the first time since 2011 that someone has won the first 4 races in a row. And we all know, of course, what happened then. Bono House won the championship.
Good Mercedes impression, though.
It definitely is, yeah.
Hardly a 1-2, but you can't take it away from him. And I guess the team behind the scenes, certainly, just outstanding call on the strategy and outstanding driving to make the strategy work.
Yeah, for sure. We credit the drivers here a lot because they are the guys that get the end result, but sometimes it's easy to forget what kind of effort comes in from the team behind the scenes, as we see Birikov not making the overtake just yet. But it's really easy to forget what kind of effort comes in from the teams and the strategy and the engineers during a race. They have to watch all the gaps from pretty much 5-6 drivers, keep watch of their times, what they are doing, what strategy they are on, how quick they are going. It definitely takes a lot of effort, and big shout out to them as well for ACR. They have done a massive job so far.
I'd say Simicic has really fixed the issue which held him back last year. I mean, you got to say that in terms of qualifying, when he was on song, Simicic was and still is unbeatable. Again, to reiterate, 2/10 around this circuit to take pole position is a big gap, considering that this is a sub 1 minute 10 lap for the front runners. But he's managed to bring to the table now not just race pace, but strong consistency with the tyres as well. As I noticed further back, Birikov has finally gotten past Jeffrey Fournier. That was with the help of DRS. Fournier helpless to prevent that one from happening. So Birikov, mistake or strange strategy, either way. Points for Invictus looking pretty good now. But yeah, Jurne Simicic has just improved himself as an all-round package. And okay, he might not be taking every other pole position, but his race performances are more than making up for it.
They definitely are. Now, let's take a look at the lap times for D'Alessandro and Peter Boriak.
Well, I'll tell you what their issues is, Felix, is they've gone into battle with each other, and so their progress has effectively been halted.
Yeah, last lap for D'Alessandro, 12.8. Peter Boriak, 12.4. And Simicic this lap, 12.6. So they're basically not gaining at all. There's only 6 laps left. Even compared to Panzer, there is still 4 seconds between him and D'Alessandro and Boriak. So they need, just under a second a lap to catch up to Panzer. Then they still need to get past him as well.
Well, this is looking for ACR Blue as well. They fell down to 4th after Azerbaijan. There was 15 points between them and both John Lacey and Edge going into this particular round. They're going to be scoring 18 and 15 points respectively if the podium remains as it is. Whereas Burlak and Kish, they're scoring no more than 20. Jean Lacey, they're scoring no more than 20. And so that's going to close up the gap very nicely indeed. In fact, ACR Blue are going to close the gap on their sister team ACR. But the good news for ACR is that they're scoring 25 points. And whenever you've got one driver scoring 25 points, that's the best damage limitation you can get, because it's, again, almost impossible to overtake that amount, even with 2 drivers finishing inside the points.
Yeah.
But just thinking about the possible, I think second and third is the only possible combination where you beat 25 points. Yeah, because 13 and 18 is... No, wait. I'm getting my maths completely wrong, aren't I? You can get second and fourth. You can get second and fifth. Basically, we're looking at a podium and the top 5 in order to overcome that P1, of which only ACR Blue were doing that, and they were the team furthest behind in this championship race. So to the closing stages then of this Canadian Grand Prix. And there are still some stories to have their final chapters written. Burlak versus D'Alessandro coming down to the wire, it seems. Although we were rather hoping they'd possibly take the fight to the podium. It looks like Robin Panzar should be able to hold out third for now. Gosby, I say Gosby was looking comfortable in second. He's gone off the boil a little bit. So he's invited Panzar in to within a 2-second window. Further back, there is still the great charge of Kirill Birokov going on, actually just lining up Wojciech Lukaszek as we speak in the battle for P9. Birokov going to the outside of the, no, surely not of the champion chicane. He lets Lukaszek barrel over the chicane. He takes it comfortably. He knows that he's got a few more laps left, but unfortunately for him, Patel has sort of scurried on up the road a little bit too far. So looks like P9 will be his ultimate goal here. But watch out for Jeffrey Fournier as well, keeping watch in P11.
Yeah, Fournier just keeping an eye out on what might happen between these drivers. If one of them makes a mistake, it's going to be an easy position for him. Maybe even 2 positions for him if they make a slight bit of contact or something.
I think we'll stick with them. Or, I would say go to D'Alessandro and Burlak, but they're not close. Burlak has clearly got more wing on, and he just can't get into any sort of attacking area that D'Alessandro has to worry about. So yeah, let's keep on with this Birokov, Lukaszek, Fournier triplet of a battle. Oh, a little bit of a slip, a bit of tank slapper on the exit of the hairpin there for Fournier, which will give Birokov even more safety of mind to go and attack Lukaszek ahead. Very defensive line from Lukaszek. Birokov goes ahead on the straight, but oh, that's a very, very deep exit from Lukaszek. How he's kept it in one piece, I don't know, but it's compromised his exit massively, and the Russian is through. Birokov into P9. No less than he has deserved, I would say. A great drive, strange strategy, but points at the end of it at least, although his engine is smoking.
Yeah. That's not a good sign. It's been smoking for quite a while as well. Maybe he's using a bit too much qualifying boost. I hope he gets to the end of this race, because otherwise that would be a big shame. It's still smoking. Coming through the second sector now. Oh, yeah, there it goes. It's out. It's done. His engine is done. End of the race for Kirill Birokov there. Used too much of the engine. And end of the race. Damn.
Why do you do this, Kirill? Why do you do this? You had points in the palm of your hand and you... Learn your strategies and prepare your cars, ladies and gentlemen. That is the story that we learn from Kirill Birokov in this race, and he becomes our 6th retirement late in the day on lap 68 of 70. So close, yet no cigar. And so now it's a battle for P9 between Lukaszek and a resurgent Fournier, who feels like he can pick up 2 points from today rather than 1. Actually, am I right in saying... Oh, no. So, of course, Oren Miller picks up their first double point score in Azerbaijan last time out. Another double point score would be very nice indeed. Looking to further extend their gap here as they settle in, snuggle in to P5.
Yeah. Good job there. Brojak, I think, he's close. He's close to Alessandro. But he's not really able to get past or get close enough to make the move. Alessandro driving very well defensively. Probably using his fuel and his tires in the right places to make sure Brojak doesn't really have a chance. And Alessandro can see Robin Panzar now. It's the last lap of the race.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a bit too far back to make a move.
That flew by, didn't... Oh, Lukaszek's gone as well! Lukaszek's engine's gone! Would you believe it? Fournier has been handed 2 positions on a plate. He must be casting witchcraft on the engines ahead of him. He's up into P9, and for Jos Araneda, his bold strategy looks to be coming on home. You gotta feel for flag to flag on this final lap. They are staring points in the face, but it's ground effect that looks to be coming home with the one.
Yeah, similar.
As far as crossing the line, Jenny Simijic, we're looking at things all over the place. He wins his 4th Grand Prix in a row in 2019. In what was another dominant display. 7.5 seconds clear of Martin Gosby, who picks up his 2nd podium. Robin Panzar picking up his 1st. It's a double podium for ACR Blue. It is an ACR lockout for the stable. Petter Burlak at the end was able to get Michele D'Alessandro.
On the back
Completely
straight.
missed that. On the back straight, there we go. So Petter Burlak 4th with D'Alessandro 2nd, 5th in a row. It wasn't exactly a scrappy race, but it was the strategy to let him down. Danny Kish picking up P6 with Ricardo Costa P7. Mohamed Patel again. So disappointing to see him so far off the pace down in P8. Of course, Fournier picking up 2 free positions in P9, and ground effect are on the board with the one car that turned up today. Jos Araneda, the Chilean, picks up a point and sees them up into P9 ahead of Flag to Flag, who will be gutted within a second of a point there with Stephen Michaels. But that is how the cookie crumbles himself. Pave, Brackshock and Ryan all finishing without any points to their name. And of course, your retirements from this race: Kalas, Schulze, Valeriano, Leonov, Hutchinson, and the 2 late blows in the form of engine blowouts, Birakov and Lukashek. Oh, you got to feel for them, but that is why engine management is so important.
Yep, it's definitely, and they picked on the wrong straw, and they, well, didn't finish the race because of it. Right.
Standout driver today?
Well, I guess there's nobody else really to say except Drs Straights. He took the win for a 4th time in a row. I mean, what else can you say than this is gonna be a very, very good season for him. At least for now, it has been a very, very good season for him.
4 in a row, the most successful start to an FSR campaign since 2011. The man that year was Bono Juez, and he went on to win the title. I believe we're moving over. We're changing our broadcast channel to pick up some interviews. So shall we do that, Mr. Felix?
Yeah, let's switch over and have the broadcast with the top 3 drivers. So just bear with us for a second as we are waiting for those top 3 drivers to hop on to Discord and join us for the interviews.
Yeah, so one more to digest from that race. ACR Blue, of course, first time that this sister team has been in the World Championship, picking up a double podium. And we were talking about Robin Panzar and his upward trajectory. His best results so far in the World Championship.
Yeah, Panzar, great job. We've talked about it for the race. He managed to get the consistency and the pace together, and got a few good results already. 5th, 4th, and now in succession also takes the 3rd place podium, which is a great achievement for him. I think we have our first interviewee ready for today. Martin Gosby's 2nd place, or well, let's start with Drs Straights, actually winner of the race. All right. So yeah, Drs Straights, 4 out of 4. What a race!
It went better than expected, to be honest. Seeing all the lap times and the pace of the guys of Journalisy and Edge, I was expecting a finish similar to last year, when we would be like myself, Martin and Robin under attack from all of them in the last stint, and I feared that they would just drive around us, but it fortunately did not happen.
You have become the most successful driver in terms of start to a campaign since Boniface back in 2011. He went on to win the title. With the way that things have been going, surely confidence has got to be soaring. You've got to be the favourite at this point, and surely you've got to believe that yourself. I know you're not exactly, the most egotistic of driver. You tend to come off as quite humble to me, at least. But I mean, come on, you're looking so good right now.
Yeah, well, I will not disagree. a lot of pressure is off, which is good, but it can also not be so good. But yeah, we had, Canada and Baku, of course, both maybe my favorites on the calendar. And I guess I just got either very smart or very lucky in Canada, and Melbourne was just okay, let's say. But I can see, like, for the next round, we see Le Mans 24 hours, and then straight after that, Paul Ricard, FSR WC. So probably victory next race will be almost impossible. But I know that our opponents had flown back from Spain or something in the last day, so surely we had a little bit easier job than we should have.
You pick up the advantages where you can, Yerne. Thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on your 4th win of the season.
Thank you.
And Martin. We were asking the question, were you the most patient or frustrated man for most of that race? Please do inform us, because it looked like at certain intervals you had a chance to have a run, but then didn't. Were you hitting your ceiling in terms of maximum race pace there, or were you just biding your opportunity or were you biding your time for an opportunity, I should say, that just never came?
To be honest, I was just happy to be there, because we know that Yone is just stupidly quick here, and he's able to conserve tyres stupidly well to that point as well. So I wasn't planning, I was just hoping to stick with his DRS to keep my tyres alive. But also in the second stint, once my tyres went, I lost DRS, and I was like dropping like a stone compared to his pace. So yeah.
It is ACR Blues' first double podium. It was a pretty big move for you from flag to flag to the ACR stable. How have you been finding your move so far, and ultimately culminating in a double podium here? You think it was the right one?
Well, yeah, I don't want to sound horrible, but yeah, of course. I mean, we see where flag to flag are at the moment, which is a shame because they're struggling. But yeah, I wanted to have some results, and I've got 2 podiums so far this year, so yeah, it's good.
What does the rest of the campaign bring for Martin Gosby and for ACR Blue? What's the overall goal here for both of you? Is a race win what you are looking for in particular, or is maybe your expectations a little more tempered than that?
Well, we can't deny that Yone is having a very good time. But yeah, I wouldn't mind having a win here and there, but there's a lot more people to battle for that. We know that all the Jean Lacey and Edge guys can be strong, and Yone, Robin, and like Michi and whoever else. It's a strong group, so we will see.
Good stuff. Well done on your second podium of the year, Martin. Best result of the year as well. And you take care for now.
Thank you very much.
All right. So, Felix, debrief time. How do you stop a problem like Yerne Simoncic?
I don't know, to be honest. His pace has been extremely strong, and we've seen that just the strategy alone from the Avid Chronic Racing stable is so good, at least compared to what the Jean Lacey Esports and the Edge Esport guys are able to do. It's difficult to really give advice to what can be done better. Well, I guess have better pace and try to have a better strategy, but that's easier said than done.
Very much so. And you might be asking, Where are they going to be forming their next challenge? Well, where is France? When, I hear you call. 2nd of June is the date to watch out for. So in a couple of weeks' time, you're going to be heading to France to Paul Ricard, a very different circuit with big straights, understandably. But I seem to remember that last year provided an absolute barnstormer of a race. It may not be great in real life, but here in sim racing, we like to do things differently. So will anybody be able to mount a challenge, I should say, to Yerne Simicic? You're going to have to tune in 2 weeks' time to find out. Up until then, though, we're looking to get the highlights package of this race out to you guys. So if there's any of your friends who've missed it, or if you're looking to introduce people to FSR, then be sure to point them in the way of this YouTube channel, where both the full race broadcast and highlight packages are put up for your viewing pleasure. And just looking through all of my notes, I think that is everything done and dusted. Big thank you to our race director, as always, Mr. Cameron Rodger. A big thank you to Mr. Felix van Delft. I want to give another massive shout out to Matt Tewson as well for putting together all the highlights packages. Big effort from both him and all of the media staff behind the scenes, and indeed the guys who make the mod as well. Be sure to give them love in the Formula Sim Racing Discord, which you can join there. Also join the forums, lovely place. Big thank you to all of you for joining. He's been Felix van Delft. I've been James Kirk. And from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.
Hey man, I got that new 10X Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
Yo, let me play.
Yeah, after I play first. Yeah.
You know, I'll race it for it.
Well, I have to hand you.